I welcome you all to this video. This video is going to be about SSL and TLS. You probably have seen this or heard about it, probably with data in transit or VPNs. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 4 topics. So SSL and TLS overview. Let's talk about a little bit of history about SSL and how that came to place, what versions are available, what versions are deprecated, and what versions are going to be a winner out there at the moment. And then number 2, let's talk about a couple of risks around SSL and TLS, and then we'll talk about trends out there, what SSL and TLS is doing, and then lastly, we'll talk about best practices around SSL and TLS. So, as an overview, what is SSL stands for? It's Secure Sockets Layer, and TLS is Transport Layer Security. So, back in 1994, SSL version 1.0 was designed, but it never was published. The reason? It had a lot of flaws, and an IETF, Internet Engineers Task Force, did not think that was good enough to be published, so that was never published. And then 1995, version 2.0 was published, and by 1996, version 3.0 was published. And then SSL became prevalent everywhere, and most people were using it. And then by 1999, the political name of SSL changed to TLS, and it became the TLS 1.0 version. So it's really SSL 3.1, but it's being recognized as TLS 1.0. So by 2006, TLS 1.1 was published. It's actually after 7 years, and it came with incremental fixes and capabilities. In 2008, 1.2 was published, and that's pretty much, if you are not using 1.3, everyone should be using at least 1.2 because it's got a lot of fixes and capabilities than 1.1. So you're less susceptible to attacks. So 2014, TLS 1.3 was drafted, and by 2018, it was published. And a fun fact about 1.3, it is faster. How they achieved faster rate, it was actually they dropped down the handshake, the time that takes for handshakes, hellos, and acknowledging the whole handshake process. That way, RTT round the trip time dropped down massively. And it has premiered a lot of weak ciphers. Now it has 5 strong cipher speeds, and that's TLS 1.3 at the moment. So what's secure communication in security in general? It's pretty much fulfilling CIA triad. So, C stands for confidentiality, and it's pretty much encrypted conversations, preventing possible eavesdropping. So man in the middle attacks cannot really alter your data. And then integrity, that's I. That's pretty much preventing or finding out if your data has been tampered in transit. And then A stands for authentication. That's pretty much to prevent impersonation and establishing trust. That way, the wrong people cannot get their hands on your data that is in transit. So Let's talk about use cases of SSL and TLS. Say, secure communication over the network, often web traffic carried by HTTP, if not HTTPS. And then use SSL and TLS for secure email or mostly VPNs for secure data transfer. A site with SSL installed will look different in the browser. You probably know, you've seen it, you've checked it. And your URL is going to show HTTPS. And if you don't have the S, you know that site that owns the URL is not secure. The S stands for secure. And I also will show you a little padlock. And if you click on it, you can see other details there as well. So how TLS achieve this? So CIA tried, so confidentiality, integrity, and authentication. So that is like the main aim of securing your data. So how TLS does this? It uses metric encryption and typically AES, Advanced Encryption Standard. That is for confidentiality. Integrity, so to make sure your data is not tampered with, and it uses authenticated encryption with additional data, AE, or usually AES, GCM. They're safer modes. That way, your data is using stronger cipher modes and no one can really read it. If they can't see it, they can't read it and they can't alter it. And then authentication is done by certificates. Mainly it's 0.509 certificate signed by a trusted CA, a certificate authority. So when you combine HTTP URL with SSL digitally signed certificate, it actually becomes HTTPS. So how you can choose your SSL certificate for your organizations? You can buy a digital certificate through your hosting provider. If you don't want to do that, or if you for some reason if you don't want to do it, you can go to a third party certificate authority such as Komodo. DigiCert is a big digital certificate chain at the moment, and GeoTrust, TOTI, or TrustWave. Then you can associate those third-party certificates with your site, make it secure. TLS 1.3 improvements to security and performance, which is the version which is the latest at the moment. It's definitely a successor of TLS 1.2 in speed benefits from 1.2 to 1.3. It's just the handshake. TLS handshake has dropped down the time that takes to the handshake, and you definitely is going to notice it, and it cuts the encryption latency in half. This feature known as TLS full start and zero round trip time. Then improved security with 1.3. It removes obsolete insecure features from TLS 1.2 when it became 1.3. So it is less likely for admins and developers to misconfigure the protocol. So let's talk about a couple of SSL certificates out there. So the main guy that you're going to see out there is X509. This basically binds your public key to a domain. And this is digitally signed by Azure and mainly used for authenticating. And it can consist of several fields as mentioned in this slide. You can see like version number, serial number, signature, algorithm, issuer, and go on. And there's a lot of details in there. And the next one is public SSL certificates. And there are 3 you can actually see out there. Domain validation. So that's a certificate you use to validate the domain. And definitely you would need a domain validation certificate to make sure that it's legit and your clients really you can establish confidence in your domain in your clients. An organization validation is a high assurance than the domain validation, and it's a normal type of certificate that is issued. So you need two things to get a organization validation. First one's the domain name, and then you have to have a valid business registration number, and they need to be verified as well. And the third one is extended validation, and this is designed mainly to stop phishing attacks. So it requires additional validation for your business and authorization in order to get the certificate. So that way, if someone's trying to use your domain, or if someone is using a domain for phishing attacks, then really they can be noticed easily. That's the main purpose of extended validation certificates. Now let's talk about SSL risks and vulnerabilities out there. This is going to be a little fun activity, because if you know what are the risks around your SSL TLS certificates, then you can be vigilant about it. So the certificates, those expired or misconfigured, can cause a big problem, and it can cause you huge amount of fines as well. So it's really important for you to monitor your certificates. And self-sign and vendor certificates, those actually can lead for less confidence in you and your domains and your product in clients. And attacks on SSL, a couple examples: Heartbleed, Portal, Robot, Bees, Free, etc. I'm not going to go into details in those, but if you really want to, just go Google and you can find a lot of details about it. And then phishing sites using HTTPS, really, that is a worry. But then if you have the certificates stapled into those domains, the cyber forensics professionals can really, hopefully, can pin down the people who really own those domains they're using for phishing sites, using HTTPS. And the other one is attacks on the actual certificate authority. So CAs get attacked. So what are you supposed to do? So those are the risks around SSL and TLS at the moment. And if you talk about trends, this is really nice because there are a couple of things out there. So CA browser forum requirements. So CA browser forum baseline requirements for the insurance and management of public trusted certificate describe a subset of the requirements. So if you want people to access your website through certain browsers, you need to meet the baseline requirements, which is good. Certificate transparency, that came into place because back probably 2014, but it's getting really prevalent at the moment because if you don't comply with the policies for certificate transparency, your website or whoever's website that does not comply probably going to have an outage and your application connection is going to break, and your client's not going to see it. So certificate authority authorizations, which is the CAA, and that is a DNS record type, certification authority authorization, and it is to specify which certificate authority are allowed to issue certificates for a domain. And then if you talk about certificate pinning, it is to pretty much to pin a X509 public key to a certain host, and it's again for security purposes. And enforcing HTTPS, that is so good to see that a lot of people enforcing the secure HTTP. So this is a graph that shows you the movement towards adopting HTTPS against HTTP from 2018. So, SOAN HTTP exchanges. This is an emerging technology. It's a new wave that provides a way to provide the authenticity of a web document. This can be used to determine the page original publisher, no matter where the document is served from. Now we see so many cyber attacks and phishing sites. Now this is such a good feature, I believe. And then automatic certificate management environment, ACME. This is a protocol, that communication protocol for automating interactions between certificate authorities and the users' web service. So this automated deployment public key infrastructure at a very low cost as well. It was designed by the Internet Security Research Group, ISIG, for their Let's Encrypt service. Okay, now we're on to the last section, which is the best practices. Like, what can you do in your projects, in your organizations, or whatever you're doing with SSL and TLS? Let's have a look. So, any security framework presented include 4 main steps. So, pretty much identify the sets or identify what is being affected, and then remediate or discover the problem along with your sets, and then protect assets by creating a secure policies, your constraints around those, and then monitor assets to ensure policy compliance. You pretty much remediate those, and then you have to monitor they stay compliant. If not, all the effort that you, or could be hours, could be days, could be months, could be a half a year. So if you don't monitor and you won't stay compliant, and it's just a waste of time. So let's have a look in details in those 4 steps by what are the actions you can actually take. So identify, you can really find out what servers are not using HTTPS. The reason, if you don't have SSL TLS certificate associated with that server, so you need to get that associated with that. If it expired, you need to renew it. And then to find out baseline for all certificates issued, what is the baseline? If you have a monitor, if you have a dashboard to monitor all the baselines, then that would be fantastic. And then install locations for all your certificates. So where are they actually? So you have a list of certificates and you know the location they installed. And so who are the owners of the certificates and domains? And then web server configuration. So what configuration you used? And if you have a clear understanding about these, and then you can move on to remediate. So if you are using any weak keys, cipher speeds, or hashes, then make sure you remove those. And then if you have a wildcard certificate insurance and distributor risk control, make sure they are actually compliant to you. And then appropriate certificate types are deployed, make sure they're actually the right type. And then all default Windows certificates are controlled. And all web servers have latest patches installed. That's a massive step. And you can patch all your servers to the, if not the latest, at least something that has a really good long-term service or has a lot of capabilities to be not prone for attacks. And then if you move on to the project section, you can issuance of and renewal and revocation and standardized and automated. That's one way you can automate those. And then you really don't have to worry because what you remediated will be protected that way. And all certificates renewed and installed in a timely manner. And you can probably do that if you have a person or a 2-man team, at least. So one person's the primary owner and the second one's the secondary in case, and then there is some monitor, then or when you get an alert, someone actually actioned it and renew it. And a timely manner. And then private keys are not reissued when certificates are renewed. So they should not be reissued. For some reason, if you lose your private keys, maybe go create or tell a new one. So reissuing private keys is not the best practice, apparently. And certificates and private keys are installed in a secure manner. So make sure you actually don't leave residues everywhere. And use HTTPS to enforce HSTS to enforce your HTTPS. And then if you move on to monitor, scan network for new systems and changes. And you always monitor. Just have some tools to monitor those and run through dashboards. I know some people have some tools and they can leverage to monitor your network and check the certificate transparency logs for rogue certificates. That would be something else you can do. And then use the CAA, which is the DNS record type, to prevent unauthorized certificate requests. And then you can log TLS server management operations. You can pretty much get your server logs to Splunk or some sort of SIEM system. And then you can monitor the traffic of TLS as well if needed. So that concludes all the practices you can adopt to around your SSL and TLS. So that comes to a conclusion of this video about SSL and TLS. I hope this is going to give you at least a quick start about what is SSL and TLS, and there's so much more to talk about them, but at the moment I'm going to finish this video here. But maybe in the future I'll go deeper levels about certificates and how actually TLS, do the handshakes and bring the data around. So thanks for watching this video. Until I see you in the next one.